Hello friends, it's Greg here again on the Blue Feather Ephemera channel. I have an eBay store by the same name where I sell vintage magazine print advertising, and every week I make a video to show you what's sold in the store. I'm excited about this one because this video covers week 44 sales. Week 44 is the current week that I should be showing, and this video is intended to drop by or on November the 5th. And that's during week 45. That means we're caught up. And we had to catch up because I had to take a little bit of time away from YouTube and away from the eBay store during the month of October to attend to some chores around the cottage here. But I got that done. I got a new roof, and my son got a new barn, and a bunch of other things went on. And I was sick for about a week during that time. But anyway, we're all caught up. I'm excited. This date, or this week 44, covers the dates of October the 23rd to October the 29th. This is video number 41 in my What Sold series, and it is the 5th What Sold video of the 4th quarter. So stay tuned. Let's look at some great ads. First up is this nice little ad here from House Beautiful, 1950. It's a small black and white ad, quarter page. Here's the size. It's roughly 5 inches by a little bit over 6. The advertiser here is called Extensol, and they're advertising a drop leaf table, and it says it's a truly beautiful table with long extension facilities. And the company's based in Sparta, Michigan. I sold this ad to Michigan. Right here, it's got a no split top double drop leaf table here. And then down here in the other corner, it's showing some other types of table arrangements that they also sell. I sold it for $8.77, went to Michigan. Next up is a small black and white ad, this one from Life magazine, 1954, and the company is called Marvella. They made simulated pearls, and they have the real pearl look of Naturel. Pretty model here in the picture, just a little close-up of the size here, about 6 inches by almost 7. I sold this for $10.77. It's going to a repeat customer in New York. Here's a nice, colorful advertisement from Radio and Television News Magazine, 1955. This is a 2-page ad, and in the details of the ad here, it talks about Channel Master's Selectenna coupling system, and that's this box that's on the antenna pole right here. Now, there's probably more generations of Americans that don't remember antennas than generations that do. As a matter of fact, as a older Gen X, I'm probably one of the youngest people that remembers. And I'm talking in generalities. There's of course exceptions, and especially in the far rural areas. But anyway, I grew up in a little mountain community, deep in a holler, mountains all around. There was no cable system in the early 1970s. And so we had an antenna with the railroad track looking antenna wire with the antenna pole right outside the living room window. And that way, whoever went outside to adjust the antenna and kind of spin it around was within earshot of the person inside looking at the set to say, hey, it's cleared up, or move it again or whatever. But anyway, they made things that, you could, remotely adjust antennas from inside with motors and stuff like that. We didn't have anything like that growing up. We got cable TV in the mid-70s. Until then, we had only 3 channels. And after that, I think we went all the way up to 8. We were big shots at that time. So while other kids were watching MTV on 120 channel satellite systems, I was happy to get 8 channels. This ad, $18.77, sent this ad to New York. Here's a nice advertisement from 1965. This ran in Fortune magazine, and it's really neat. The advertiser is the Virginia Electric and Power Company, and what they're advertising here is an industrial park in the area of Reston, Virginia. This fellow is up in a Benson gyrocopter. He's wearing a suit, flying a gyrocopter. He's got one hand on the stick, and with the other hand, he's taking pictures with what looks like a regular 35 millimeter camera there. So he's multitasking while he's up there in the air, and it looks like that this is a place that is under construction, or maybe there's finished projects there, but they're building in this industrial park and the communities around it. They surround a 30-acre lake. It's 970 acres of industrial center, and just a real neat advertisement. I loved it. I sold it for $16.77, and it's going to Virginia. Here's a fun little ad that ran in Private Pilot magazine, 1979, and it says that this is from North Wells, Pennsylvania, Mr. Blockhead. And I'll show you the size of the ad. It's really small. It's not quite 3 inches by about 3 1/4. But in the detail of the ad here, it shows this little airplane. It's a wooden plane. It's actually a bomber. It says bombs away because with the Mr. Blockhead, you can turn the propeller and serve gumballs or Spanish peanuts or M&Ms and other candies. Real neat little ad, just a novelty, $6.77, sent it to Texas. This ad ran in Progressive Farmer magazine, 1975. The advertiser is Mormon, and what they're selling is mentrate mineral blocks. And you see here they've got 7 different varieties, each with a different kind of a chemical and nutritional content from the mineral base. Everything from salts to magnesium to vitamin A, D, all that kind of stuff. Antibiotics are embedded in the lick. And so the herd basically, they will, come to this mineral block and lick it to get the minerals that they need. It says that you can use these to help your feed dollars work extra hard, because if, say, herd cattle, for example, don't have the right balance of mineral nutrition, they're not going to make the most of the feed that they eat to build muscle and fat content and all of that you want in your herd. $14.77, sent this to Texas. Here's an advertisement that ran in Drug Markets magazine, 1931. Especially interesting to me, and you may find it interesting as well. The company is S.B. Pinnock and Company of Asheville, North Carolina. It says they also have a factory at Weehawken as well. But in this ad, if you look at the detail, and it's a partial page ad, I'll show you the size, about 5.5 by almost 6. But it says foreign and domestic, whole and milled from a pound to a carload. But what caught my eye here is in this detail, it says Collection Depot at Asheville, North Carolina for domestic botanicals. Now, what that means to me is that people who harvest herbs and roots and bark and other types of botanicals for the drug market, they will normally take them to a local buyer. And then a place like this is where the local buyer takes those in bulk. There's still a lot of this. Most Americans don't realize how many people make extra income from harvesting botanicals, especially roots like ginseng and bloodroot and cohosh and all that kind of stuff. I know people that it is their living. That's what they do. They don't have any other jobs. They just harvest botanicals. Hey, I sold something. National Steel Corporation. But anyway, this is their livelihood. And then there's a lot of people it's like a side hustle for them. One of my best friends, he'll go out for about 20 or 30 hours in a season to dig ginseng root. And he uses that to fund his family's vacation for the year. And so there's good money in that kind of stuff still yet. In modern America, people are out walking the hills and the woods. I was told, see, I don't watch much TV at all, and I really don't like reality shows. But I was told there's a TV show about people collecting ginseng and harvesting ginseng, and they've put like a real hillbilly slant on it. That's well, I won't say it's offensive, but I think it's the way it was described to me. It was probably exaggerated quite a bit. But anyway, this ad really nice. It's small, so I sold it for $8.77. It's going back to Asheville, North Carolina. Now here's a real nice ad from 1936. This ran in Woman's Home Companion, and the company is Chase Chromium. Uh, it's talking about summer serveware, make your parties sparkle. And in the detail here, I'll show you first the size. Another small ad. You'll notice I'm selling a lot of small ads this week. But right here in the detail here, the top picture shows a chrome bowl and also a small chromium sphere pitcher and a sphere sugar bowl. And then I like this one down here. This is an electric, it's called an electric snack server. The picture's a little bit fuzzy there, but it's got 3 1-quart casserole dishes made by Pyrex inside of it to keep food piping hot. There's a lot of Pyrex collectors. People who collect Pyrex like to collect the accessories that go with and are useful to Pyrex from back in the day. So I consider it may be a Pyrex collector that actually picked this up because of that association. Anyway, not much else to it. $8.77, sent it to Massachusetts. This is a great World War II era ad. 1942, it ran in Fortune magazine, and the company is Farnsworth Television. And in the detail of this ad here, it says, ever look through a blank wall? And it shows the person on this side of the wall that is supposedly watching people dancing on the other side of the wall. And it says that television technology is helping people look through walls, look around corners, look over mountains, and all this kind of stuff that they're doing in research and development of television. It says they're making all kinds of specialty projects for the armed forces that they're not able to describe or disclose during the war. But it says they can't provide you with a TV now, but if you'll go out and buy war bonds, you can speed the end of the war so that you can get your TV quicker. So a real nice World War II advertisement right there. I sold it for $23.77. It went to New York. Here's a nice ad for a neat little product. This ran in Life magazine 1954. The advertiser is Park Deluxe, and they're making a windproof lighter. Another small ad you can see here. This one is almost 3 inches by slightly over 7. And this one, basically what you're looking at is just a competitor to Zippo here. It's a brand I've not heard of, so apparently Zippo won that war. But this small ad sold for $6.77. The company is based in Springfield, Illinois, and this ad went back to Illinois. Here's another ad for Spode English Dinnerware, and they're showing 2 patterns here. They're showing at the top Chelsea Gardens. Well, let's zoom in on that a little bit. Here is the Chelsea Gardens pattern, and right down here below it, you've got the Rosalie pattern. And the wholesale distributor for Spode from New York City, Copeland and Thompson, is who actually ran this ad. It says these are British craftsmanship at its best. Now, I've mentioned a few times, well, I've had an opportunity to mention Spode recently because I've sold Spode recently. This is like the 3rd one within 2 months. And I said, And again, not to offend any Spode collectors, it's not the kind of thing I would collect. The patterns don't appeal to me. And the reason I don't want to offend is because I sure appreciate the business. So I'm glad these are selling. $8.77 is the price this fetched for a small ad that's 5 by 6.5, and it went to Washington. Appeared in House Beautiful 1941. Well, I've thrown enough shade at Spode in recent weeks. I feel like that I need to share some love for this Syracuse china right here because like I said before, it's a matter of taste. I don't like the Spode patterns, but this Syracuse china is really well-made china, and they do have the type of patterns that I like. What you're looking at on the screen right here is called Evening Star, and it's one of the mid-century modern patterns with the atomic starburst look. This is kind of the tail end of that phase. This is not what I have. I have something similar. I'll mention that again in just a minute, but I don't want to forget and tell you that this ran in 17 magazine, 1963. I suppose that's being marketed toward the young ladies who are just attaining marriageable age, and so that was their target customer. What you're seeing here, I'll zoom in a little bit more. You're looking at that starburst type of pattern here. Now, what I collect is very similar. It's a pattern called Galaxy with an IE at the end of that. And it's by a company, I don't know how it's pronounced, but I would guess it's Mito, Meito. It's a Japanese China. But anyway, so that's what I do like. Since I keep mentioning that I don't care much for Spode, this is what I do like. This sold for $12.77, and it's on its way to Kansas. This ad might be one of the vaguest advertisements I've ever sold because it describes everything except the product that they're advertising. And I'll talk about that in just a second. This ran in Saturday Evening Post, 1940. It's about a half-page ad, so I charged $14.77 for it. Now, when you look at the detail of the ad, first of all, at the bottom, there's just how you mail in and get information. It shows a family and the American dream house and all of that. Up at the top, it says there's 3 kinds of money no man should be without. And first of all, it says cash in the bank for emergencies and so on. And then it talks about insurance to take care of responsibilities after death and so on. And it talks about, some people might have policies for that, or some people may have savings. But then it talks about the third kind of money, money which will be accumulated persistently, step by step, during the years of a man's best earnings power to take care of the years that follow. This kind of money is truly a kind no man should be without. And so what they're talking about is, putting away a nest egg, but it doesn't describe the investment vehicle, what he'd be investing in. I guess that's what you got to write in about. But it is really vague in the advertisement. This ad went to Illinois. After roughly about 21 months of selling print ads on eBay, this is the first time that I recall ever sending print ads to Canada through the global shipping program. I may have had another Canada sale or two in the first weeks or months that did not go through the global shipping program. But anyway, 2 Canada buyers stepped up this week. I'm excited about that. Maybe that's a good sign of things to come from our neighbors to the north buying my stuff. But this ran in Penthouse Magazine, 1989. The product is the Phototron 3 plant growing system. In the detail of the ad here, you can see the founder of the company here. He's got a nice bunch of roses growing in his, but we all know it wasn't about growing roses. It was about growing marijuana. And so I used marijuana and 420. I think that's a reference to April the 20th. It has something to do with pot, but I don't have any idea what that is. Because it's a recent ad, even though it's full page, full color, I sold it for only $10.77. It's going to Canada. This is a neat ad to see right here. They were doing all kinds of wild things with televisions in the 1950s. This is from 1958, and it ran in New Yorker magazine. And what you see here is the set, what they're calling the set itself, is this part that sits by your couch or chair or somewhere near you so that you can control your TV from wherever you want to be comfortable. And you've got your channel selections and your volume and on and off switch and all of that. This fellow is carrying the tube, the television tube, across the room to set it where, it's advantageous for everybody to see well. So just a neat thing to see. This is a way to, not have to sit right next to the TV to control it. This is it in the detail of the ad here. It says it's got a flexible 25-foot cord that lets it go anywhere in the room or even to other rooms. And so this is, I guess, the earliest form of remote control is when you're wired to the TV that's across the room. Notice in the pictures here, they don't show that 25-foot cord stretched across your room, but I guess they figured they had to explain that to folks. This ad here measured about almost 6 by almost 6, and $10.77 sent it to Canada. This ad ran in Playboy magazine 1967, and the advertiser is Miranda SensorX cameras, and it shows this fellow taunting his jealous friend, because when you read into the text of the ad, it says that it's the world's most envied fully automatic SLR 35mm camera, and it says for less than $250, you can have better optics than those $400 cameras. Now, this gesture, I've known it all my life. I never even knew if it was called anything or not. From my childhood days of watching the Little Rascals, seems like I remember Stymie saying, "Give them the high sign," and they made that gesture, but it might have been a different gesture that they made to it. My memory's hazy on that. But anyway, so I had to look up the gesture, and I found this in Oxford Reference. It says it's called taking a sight, also called cocking a snoot, or the Shanghai gesture. And it says in some cultures it can be considered very crude, but in the present day its use is considered childish. But it says you can see people doing this all over Europe. I don't know how common it is. But anyway, just a little background on that gesture. $10.77 sent this ad to Oregon. I've got just a couple of fun things to say about this ad right here. First of all, it ran in Classic Magazine 1979, and the product here is a show farm box stall. It's a handcrafted wooden barn stall for miniature toy horses. And the studio, let's talk about that, because I have no idea how to pronounce it. When I make a 6-hour video, I want y'all to appreciate a little bit that I spend about 3 hours of that time on Google looking up how to pronounce stuff, because I can say I feel like I've been around a little bit, but I really am clueless about some of these pronunciations. And so, assuming that up in Belfast, Maine, you're up near the Canadian border, and a big bunch of that Canada up there thinks that they're French. And so I would assume it's like a French derivation of name. And looking it up, I could either go with Ledger or Leger. And I'm going to say Leger, Jean Leger Studios, Belfast, Maine. Now, I'm also fond of saying I ain't French and you can't make me speak it, but I've done my best there. $12.77 is the price I charged for this. Now, Look at this cutie in the picture. She is why this ad sold. I got a message about the time that this sale came through, and the buyer said, "Imagine my surprise when I was looking at your ads and saw a picture of my sister." So this is the buyer's sister in the picture here. Don't know her name. I don't know if this has to do with the maker of the products or the advertising company that put it together. Advertising was mentioned, so she may not have any kind of relation to the Jan Leger Studios. But anyway, it's very cool that a buyer found a picture of their sister and bought it. That's the kind of thing I love about this job. 1277 sent this to Mississippi. Welcome to Blue Feather Ephemera, where I do the research for you. I didn't know anything about this company here, so I've spent the last little bit of time in Google. As always, I like to know about this stuff. This is Manine, and that's another pronunciation I looked up on Google. I have no idea if it's right. Somebody around the San Francisco, California area may remember this. If you're watching, if this is something that you've heard of, you can tell me if my pronunciation was close. Manine. The store was named after founding partners Marianne Manine and Isaac Manine, and it did start in the Bay Area. They had several outlets. I did also read that in later years, this store was acquired by Macy's. In the detail of the ad here, you just see this pretty girl in a nice dress. That's all there is to it. I sold this ad for $12.77, and it's on its way to New York. It ran in Life magazine, 1947. It's going to a repeat customer. I've been saying 17 magazine, 1963 so often that I had to stop and open my file and see how many of these I have listed. In both listed in the past 3 or 4 months, and I only have 2 issues of 17 listed for 1963. That magazine or those magazines seem to be generating very good sales. Revlon Natural Wonder Medicated Makeup is the advertiser here, and they're showing a model wearing, I would suppose, a faux leopard skin outfit against the backdrop of leopard skin. It's kind of visually interesting there. I'll show you a closer look of that. But that's all there is to this. I sold this for $14.77. It's on its way to New York. Anytime I record an episode for you, it always crosses my mind, which ad is my favorite, and I can rarely pin it down to one. And that's the case this week. I've got several favorites, and this is among them right here. I love the Art Deco period and the style of Art Deco design and art. This is the company O.J. Whitney Charter Planes, Jackson Heights, New York. It talks about them being a distributor for Beechcraft and Ryan airplanes. This ran in Fortune magazine, 1937. I'll give you a close-up look at that plane right there. That is a truly Art Deco style biplane. Beautiful aircraft. It shows the pilot there. And it's a charter service, O.J. Whitney Charter Service. They said they will fly you with their pilot. They'll take you anywhere at any time, day or night. Business, pleasure, unforeseen emergencies, so on. This is just a very, and down, this is an Art Deco thing down at the bottom here too, with that kind of a rope style font. Very neat to see. I sold this for only $10.77, and it went to New York. There's a lot of history here to unpack, and I'll try to do that quickly, maybe in about 1 minute, 1 minute history lesson. This is from Fortune magazine, 1965, and the company is called Onan. But look down here in the detail of the ad, it is a division of the Studebaker Corporation. Now, everybody knows that Studebaker made cars, and Studebaker was a popular car, even though they struggled through the 1930s and actually filed bankruptcy during the Great Depression. They kind of came back, and during the World War II years, Studebaker was right in the thick of wartime production. They made aircraft engines and wings and parts and yeah, a whole bunch of different stuff. One of the things they made, and what this article is talking about here, is a Studebaker Onan generator. This is just a little gasoline generator to provide electricity wherever it might be needed. These were lightweight, portable, mobile. You could get them to or near the front lines and all of that to operate radios and lights and whatever else you needed. Radars, that kind of thing. The article says Onan and Kilroy were everywhere. Onan's still there. Kilroy was here. You used to see this all the time. This is one of the little classics of World War II. Wherever an American soldier had been, you would find graffiti just like this saying Kilroy was here. I've seen specials dedicated to what in the world was Kilroy and why was he everywhere. So anyway, that's a little bit of World War II trivia there. Now, Studebaker stopped making cars in 1966, I think it was, and this what remained of the company, apart from the financial services, was bought by McGraw Edison. McGraw Edison makes electric motors, and that's why they were probably eager to snap up, the patents and the technology and the production facilities of this Onan division. So anyway, a lot of history there. $18.77 sent this ad to California. In a recent video, I mentioned how pleased I am with sales from a lot of magazines that I picked up. That lot included most of the year of 1945 for magazines by this title, The Open Road for Boys. And it was, I guess, a sort of a club that produced a magazine, and it was Deep River Jim and the Pioneers or something like that. But they were, I won't say a competitor, but they were, kind of modeled after the Boy Scouts of America a little bit. But this advertisement here is about football kickers. That's, the focus of this. It's not an advertisement. It's just a magazine illustration. And I carry those in my store whenever something looks likely to sell. And this is, as far as these special pages by the artist here, up there in the corner it says by Gene Mack. And this little series of athletics panels by Gene Mack have sold very well. I don't think I have any of them left from any of the issues that I've listed, and I'm pretty sure I've got 6 of those issues listed now. I didn't even go back and look up the price that the other ones had sold for, but I feel like I may have underpriced this one at $28.77. If memory serves, some of the others may have sold in the $30 range. But anyway, it's got a lot of football history here with kickers like Pat O'Day and Automatic Jack Manders and Charlie Brickley and Moffett Princeton. Just all kinds of stuff about football teams and players that I've never even heard of, but people that follow the game more closely, these might be sports icons that they know and love. But somebody was happy to get this. They scooped it up quickly. I think it sold within about 4 hours of listing for $28.77, and it's on its way to Massachusetts. This next pair of ads right here sold to one customer, and during the month of October, I ran 15% off of 2 or more and also free shipping on quantities of two or more. So they got a little bit of a bargain. This first one ran in Fortune magazine 1941, and it's for the IBM punched card accounting system. And also, they had a punched card time management system. And these were just ways to help employers and managers operate more efficiently. And in the detail of the ad, I love the image here because you've got this giant dude. He's in front of a computer here, and there's all kinds of computing going on under the. There's a stack of cards and a little feeder tray and so on. But you've got aircraft and ships, and there's a rail yard down here on the side, and it's just an homage to American productivity. I really like the look of that one. It sold for $21.77. And this next one also sold for $21.77. And this advertisement ran in Byte magazine 1977. Byte spelled Byte. This is one I've mentioned in recent weeks that I'm trying out. The jury is still out, but it's looking pretty favorable for some of these computer magazines for the early days of personal computing. Now, that was a 1941 computer that you saw in the last ad, but that was like business and industry, and this is about home computing. And I got excited to see this one in that Byte magazine because this is for the lay person, basically, for your average Joe who tinkers with computers, maybe built-in home computers and that kind of stuff. And the cool thing about this is it's not an advertisement for a product, it's an advertisement for an event. It's a one-time thing. This first West Coast Computer Fair in San Francisco, April 15th to 17th, 1977, only happened once. It'll never happen again. You can't have a first one again. I've got a viewer named Lanny who specializes in this event type thing, more sourced more from newspapers and things than magazines, but she talks about the market for that is really, really strong. And I guess it's like concert T-shirts. The Beatles only did one first tour, or I don't know much about Beatles, but Ozzy Osbourne only did one Bark at the Moon tour or whatever. And so these event type ads, do your research. My suggestion is consider applying a premium to the price you charge for this kind of thing because they're really neat. It's like a snapshot in time. It only happened once, so it's extra cool for that reason, in my opinion. I said already, 2177. This and the IBM ad before it both went to a collector in Minnesota. And this is the last ad of the week right here. And I chose to make this one the last just because there's a lot of fun going on here. This is from the magazine, The Quartermaster Review, the year 1953. And the advertiser is Ashley's Mexican Foods of El Paso, Texas. And they've got 17 varieties of canned, ready to eat, deliciously different Mexican foods. And when you read down the list, it's enchiladas and it's chilies and it's green chilies and rice and pinto beans and tortillas and all this kind of stuff. Just really hardcore Mexican fare. And it's got a flamenco dancer on the picture here, and these fellas playing guitar in their sombreros. I don't know, without a trumpet, it may not technically be a mariachi band, but you could say it's kind of looks like that. So a fun looking ad. I'll show you a little bit more detail here. These are the boxes and the types of products that are in them. And it says nutritious lunches or dinners with a romantically foreign piquancy. So that's kind of fancy right there, ain't it? I sold this for $18.77. It went to the United Kingdom. Here we are at the weekly recap screen already. Seems to me like I just got started. I hope it seems that way to you too. Had a lot of fun sales. I hope you enjoyed looking at them. Now, I've got a lot of new things going on this screen. First of all, I did a color scheme in honor of breast cancer awareness. This is the last full sales week that we're showing here for the month of October, which is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I wanted to do that. Now, as far as the numbers that you see on the screen here, I sold 25 advertisements this week for a total of $354.25. That was a great sales week. Now, I mentioned in the last video that I thought we'd change up the data that we show on this recap screen, and I like the way it turned out. I always want to, put out information that's helpful to you. This may be revealing in some ways, but basically, I've always said, just like with, the magazines that I've been showing that the advertisements were sourced from, you sell what you list. And that's probably true with these numbers here as well. But, maybe you can analyze it for yourself, compare it to what you're doing. And, you may want to change things up a little based on what you see. But on this screen, I've broken it down by decade so that in the left-hand column, you see the decade of advertising. And then the next column is the quantity of ads sold from that decade. And then you see the total gross revenue that those ads generated. And then right out from that ASP is the average sales price. So that's the average of the cost that a customer was willing to pay for those ads that sold in that decade. So with the 1930s, for example, I sold 3 ads from the 1930s, and the total of revenue that I made was $28.31. You basically divide that up, and you've got an average sales price of $9.43 per ad. Next, 1940, and this I think is particularly telling here because you hear me and Marty and other people who sell print advertising say that we love the 1940s. That's because the 1940s had great ads, a lot of historical interest, the World War II era, and all of that. Those, just because it's that decade, ads will generally command a premium price. And so I sold 6 ads from the 1940s for $110.62, and that's an average sales price per ad of $18.43. That is almost double the decade prior to that. Now, if I listed a lot more 1930s ads, and if those ads were great, that would close the gap. But I'm just saying, this is the result. This is what we have to work with, and so this is what I'm going to show you. We'll jump down to the 1970s here. And the 1970s hold strong with earlier decades just because basically the people who feel nostalgia for the 1970s era now are the people who are moving into retirement years and have a little bit of extra cash to spend maybe. And so I sold 4 ads from the 1970s for a total of $56.08. And that's an average sales price of $14.02. You can take a look at the rest of that there as we close out. But like I was saying, I'm having a lot of fun showing you all information that I hope will be a help to you. I hope you find the ads interesting to look at, and I hope you'll come back and see me again next week when we'll have something else to talk about. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more content like this, there's several simple ways that you can support the channel. First of all, hit the like button. It just takes a moment. Second, if you have friends that you think would enjoy the content, go down below and send them a link to the channel. Also, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you, even if it's just a friendly hello. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already, and turn on notifications. It's that simple. Thanks again for watching.